Hey guys, this is Matthew and thank you for clicking on our video today. So today what we'll be doing is we'll be looking at some of the pickups that Sarah and I have gotten from the recent Indicator sale that just happened. If you don't know who Indicator are, they're basically a boutique Blu-ray company based out of the UK, and they put out a whole wide range of films which are a very big interest to us. We've already got a few in the collection already, but they've just had their one and only sale of 2019, so we didn't want to miss out on the sale, and so we thought, why not show the pickups that we got once they arrived, and they finally have arrived in this pretty sizable box just here, and thought it'd be cool to show off on camera. So yeah, hope you enjoy, and let's get started. I will say immediately as well that I'm quite impressed with the packaging on this. Actually, I've never seen so much bubble wrap in a box before. But yeah, I always appreciate when they do that because they know that they're sending out some limited edition stuff. So it's good to know that it's nice and safe in there. So the first film that I have to show is a film by Brian De Palma, and this is Body Double. Now, I've been really excited to watch this movie. I've never seen it before. The thing that drew me to it initially was the fact that Brian De Palma's name is attached to it, and I've been really wanting to sort of expand my viewing experience of Brian De Palma's works. Most people would probably know him for his work on the original Carrie, the Stephen King adaptation, which is obviously really good. My favourite film that I've seen of his so far is probably Blowout. And what else did he do? He did Raising Cain, which is really good too. Another movie that I haven't watched yet that he's done is called The Fury. I need to get around to watching that. It's got John Cassavetes and I think Kirk Douglas is in that as well. But yeah, back to Body Double. Yeah, this is supposed to be one of his better films. Really excited to watch it. It's a tale about, suspicion, obsession, paranoia, and if it's anything like how he communicated those things in Blowout, I'm sure I'll really enjoy this because, yeah, as I said, it's supposed to be one of his more well-known ones, so it should be good. I should also mention that Body Double is not one of the limited edition ones, it's just a standard release. Basically, if you get the first print or the first run of them, you do get the opportunity to get the movies with the booklet and like reversible artwork, and sometimes you get an additional disc to go along with the Blu-ray. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that. It's not like it affects the quality of the movie or whatever. The next one I have here is a limited edition release, and that is The Big Heat. Now, this movie was directed by Fritz Lang, who is a really pioneering director from, I think he started off in the late 20s, maybe early 30s. And most people know him for his movie M, just the letter M. It's a really excellent movie, and it sort of drew me into his filmography initially. I haven't watched many of his films, and this is one that I haven't seen, but I do know that this is really critically acclaimed. And the other reason I really wanted to watch it as well is it's actually a film noir, and I don't have much experience with film noir movies, and I know they're a really big part of Hollywood and the film industry, and I thought that this would be a good opportunity to start watching more of those. I have seen a couple, and I really liked the ones that I've seen, but yeah, this is supposed to be one of the better ones out there, so should be a really good one to watch, I'd imagine. So the next film I have here to show is called The Last Detail, starring a much younger Jack Nicholson than we usually see. It's one of the earlier films in his career. I mostly know Jack Nicholson for his later films. I mean, the earliest film I've seen of his is probably Chinatown, and then I guess it would be The Shining. But yeah, I really wanted to watch some of his older movies because obviously that's what sort of kickstarted his career. I've been really wanting to watch this one and Easy Rider, which I believe is directed by Dennis Hopper. But yeah, it's supposed to be really good. It's actually one of the movies that he got an Oscar nomination for. And it also stars Randy Quaid, who you probably know from Independence Day, and Carol Kane as well, who you probably know as well from the original When a Stranger Calls. But yeah, I can't wait to watch this one. Basically, it's about two guys who are tasked with escorting a prisoner to jail, but along that journey, they decide to show him like one last good time or whatever. So it's considered a comedy drama, so I'm expecting it to be a pretty fun time. And Jack Nicholson's always a pleasure to watch on screen. He's such a great actor, so it should be really good. So the next films I'm going to be showing, they're all going to be box sets, which are my favourite thing to collect. Unfortunately, they do hit my wallet the hardest, but it was a sale, so I can justify it in that way, I guess. But the first one I got to show is the Hammer Volume 2 Criminal Intent box set. And this was limited to 6,000 units, and I got number 4,294. Just there, as you can see. I really like that they include that sort of number thing. It's just a little perk, I guess, that we can get with the sets. So as I mentioned, this is volume 2 of the Hammer sets. So there's 4 volumes total. Indicator just announced the 4th one, so they haven't actually released it yet. But I do own the first volume, which is called Fear Warning, which I really like that one, actually. It's got a lot of gothic horrors in it. There's 4 films in it, and the last one I watched was The Gorgon, with Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee, who are also in a lot of other Hammer horror films as well. But this was the next step in the process, obviously. I had to get Volume 2 if I got Volume 1. But the films that come included in this one are The Snorkel, Never Take Sweets from a Stranger, The Full Treatment, and Cash on Demand. And one thing that I really love about the box sets that Indicator put out is, or at least in this one here, every single release inside comes with its own individual booklet with writings on the film, which I really appreciate because I like, especially if I like the film, but whenever I watch a film that includes extra writing on it, I like to read it afterwards, get someone else's, get a third-party insight into the film, maybe read up about things that I've missed, or, things that make me appreciate the film more. But yeah, I really like that they've included all that sort of stuff with this release. It's really high quality, and that's one of the things that, I don't have a huge Indicator collection right now, but they are one of my favorite labels, I would say, even though my collection of them is quite small, because they're just, you can tell that they care so much about their releases. But I'm very happy to add this one to the collection, and I will be working my way through these very quickly, I'd imagine. So the next box set I have here to show is the William Castle at Columbia Volume 1 box set, which looks amazing. I love that cover. So, and the cover's actually what drew me to it in the first place. I saw the creepy dude on it, and I knew I had to look into it because it's horror. But yeah, I didn't know a lot about William Castle, so I did some research, and he seems like a really interesting guy. He's very, very innovative, and I'll get into why he's innovative in a second. But the films that you get include The Tingler, 13 Ghosts, Homicidal, and Mr. Sardonicus. If the movie title 13 Ghosts sounds familiar, it's because I believe this is the original film that the early 2000s horror was a remake of. The one with like Matthew Lillard and a few other people, I can't remember. It was pretty average, but yeah, I'm looking forward to watching the original of that one. But back to what I was saying about how he was innovative. So one thing that came up across in my investigation of his material and his life and stuff like that is he became really known for how he marketed his films. And I guess you could call them gimmicks, but I actually think it's a really nice touch. So basically, what he would do is he would add a sort of interactive element to the viewing experience. So what I mean by that is I can give you an example from The Tingler, which basically, whenever certain things would happen on screen, he would have arranged it for the audience to have their chairs sort of get shocked or vibrate or whatever in key moments of the film. So just like little things like that. And I think another one I can give you an example of is in 13 Ghosts. I believe you get like the audiences at the time, they got like a pair of glasses that you could put on and see the actual ghosts on the screen, whereas normally they'd be invisible to if you were just watching the screen regularly. So it's extra things like that. It really added a sort of fun dynamic to the film that obviously it was quite original, and not a lot of things can really do that anymore. We see it today, obviously, in like, say, the 4D cinemas or, 3D, when we could wear the 3D glasses and stuff like that. But back in this time, no, to my knowledge, not many filmmakers are really doing that, and it became a central part of how he promoted his films. I mentioned the movie gimmicks for The Tingler and 13 Ghosts, so I may as well just quickly list the others. In Homicidal, he incorporated what he called a special fright break, which pretty much meant at a certain point in the film would cut, and you would have the opportunity as an audience member, if you felt like you couldn't keep watching because it was that scary, you'd be able to go and refund your ticket. And in Mr. Sardonicus, he used what he called a punishment poll, which basically was something that was handed out to the audience, and they could vote on how the character's fate would be determined in the movie. And I believe how they would do that is if they voted one way, they would play one film reel, and if they voted the other way, they would play another film reel, and that would determine the actual ending of the film, which is really, really cool. And I think that would be awesome as an audience member. I can't imagine, you don't really get as I said, you don't really get too many experiences like that in cinemas, at least not with, not the ability to sort of decide what actually happens on the screen in real time. But I think it was really cool that they incorporated that. I'd be interested to see whether or not, if it's demonstrated on the actual Blu-rays. I don't know how, obviously it's a home release, so we probably wouldn't see it, but yeah, so I thought it was really, really interesting, and it's definitely one of the ones I'm very interested in watching the extras for as well, because he just seems like such an interesting guy, so it should be really cool. I'm really excited to watch these movies. So I've got two more to show. Basically, these next two, they're not technically ones that I got during the sale, but I got them literally just before the sale started, which would have annoyed me, but since they're new releases, they actually weren't even discounted anyway. But I figured since I got them not long ago, I may as well show them in the video too, because they're really cool releases. The first of the two is the movie Scum, which I have watched this one. In this, I really, really liked this movie. I thought it was a great... I have a soft spot for prison movies, which is a weird sentence, I guess, but I really, really enjoy prison stories. And this was this came out in the 70s, and it's sort of it provided a type of commentary on the state of juvenile prisons, or I guess what would you call them, detention facilities It stars a young Ray Winstone, who you probably know from The Departed and a few other contemporary films. This is where he got his start, and this film has an interesting history. Basically, from my understanding, this film was originally commissioned by the BBC, and so they made the movie, and basically, apparently the film was that violent, and it showed such a alarming sort of reality that the BBC decided to pull its distribution. Even though they commissioned it, they did not want to release it. So what the filmmakers did is they decided, well, we want to make this film, we put the effort in. So they actually rewrote the script into a longer feature, and they reshot it with all the original actors. And that's the one that we have here today. And if I understand correctly, the original cut was the ban on that was only uplifted in the early 90s, and this movie came out in 1979. So yeah, pretty interesting history there. And the film is quite brutal, especially when you consider that, most of the actors are, featuring, young teenagers. I mean, some of them are a bit older than 18, you can tell, obviously, but still it deals with a lot of dark content, a lot of really dramatic themes. But yeah, I would highly recommend this. It has got some disturbing sequences in it, so proceed with caution. Maybe if you're sort of sensitive to that type of material, definitely look it up. Look into what is included before you watch it. But as a whole, I thought the movie was a really, really good film. And yeah, I would definitely recommend it. So the last box set I'm going to be showing is probably one of my new favourite box sets in my entire collection, regardless of the label. And this is Bloody Terror, The Shocking Cinema of Norman J. Warren. This is such an extensive box set, and it has the design of it is just immaculate. It includes so many extra things. I should be showing them on screen around now anyway. But yeah, it's just an absolutely gorgeous looking set. Unfortunately, apparently this box set did come with initial issues. Apparently, a lot of the discs had some framing errors and stuff like that, or I don't want to comment too much on it because I actually don't know for certain the extent of what the actual problems were. But they did include this sort of replacement case that has... Oh, that's not good. Need a replacement for the replacement. Which is really cool that they, recognised that their release had a problem and they actually amended it by sending out replacement discs free of charge, which is really nice. So included in this box set is Satan's Slave, Prey, Terror, Inseminoid, and Bloody New Year. You probably noticed that these films sort of differentiate themselves from the previous films that I've been showing in that they're clearly of a different ilk, I guess you could say. They're going to be quite different. And in the way that they're different as well, actually, is, Norman J. Warren, to my understanding, is he sort of defined himself, he became known for sort of pushing the boundaries of what was sort of accepted and known at the time. In the UK, I believe, around the time these films were released, Hammer horror was the sort of staple for horror. And he sort of distinguished himself from that style of filmmaking by upping the violence and the, what was shown on screen. So really interested to watch this for just, cinema history purposes as well, but also just because I love B-grade sort of, independent horror films. So I can't speak to how good the films they are. I can't speak to how good the films are themselves because I haven't watched them yet. But I have seen some trash in my life, so I'm sure these will be fine, especially since Indicator has put them out. Thank you for watching the video, I really appreciate it. I can't wait to smash through these movies and see how I feel about them. I'm sure they'll be really good, but as I said, we really appreciate you watching the video. If ones like these interest you, feel free to subscribe because we should be putting out a couple more videos similar to this as well in the future. But yeah, hope you enjoyed, and thank you.